Hi, I've been asked to speak on a profound, impactful moment in prisons where for 10 years, I did pro-social programs and metaphysical programs with Ohio prisons, and they were mostly male. I sent somebody else in for the female. But I did it through my own nonprofit organization, Reentry Bridge Network, which is still up if you want to see the website. Anyway, I'm going to tell you a story about that. So on Mondays, I would go over to a very large prison, and I would walk diagonally across it, which was a long way to go. I was in a super good mood. We had super good sunshine. I'm happy, la 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 la. Let's get over there. I had created, we had created, together with the men, a faux college, and so the teachers were the prisoners. And so as I got up to the building and put my hand on the door to open it, it opened, and 3 of my teachers were inside there. They were all 3 black men, which was the majority of the prison, and we are in Ohio, and they all 3 were doing time for murder. So anyway, they were 3 of my key people, and so they opened the door and they said, "Good morning, Miss Bryant," and they said, "We need to speak to you." And I said, "Okay, let's go, let's do it." So I'm still like, da 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 da, and I said, "Somebody get locked up, somebody in the hall, what you need me to do?" And they said, "No, we need to talk to you and privately." And so I asked the guard that's sitting there, I said, "We need a private room, will that one work?" He said, "Yes." So we went in, shut the door, which was unheard of for me to be able to do that. But anyway, the guys pulled chairs around, and there was one for me to sit in, and then there were 2 right in front of me, and then the 3rd was back here. And this was so intense that the guys that were on the side, they were almost touching my knees, and they're bent over talking to me, and they're dead serious. And I said, "So why are we here?" And they said, "Well, there's this young man, he's 18, he's a white kid, and he was in his bedroom, and he was doing drugs, and he was gaming, and his mother came in and said, 'Clean your room.' He took a bat to her, and he bashed her head into mush. So he's doing life now." And he had come to these guys and said, "I don't find any way out of this. I can't find a place in my head to live. And I don't see any way out of this other than suicide. And that just won't work, Miss Bryant." And they said he carries a Bible with him. He attends everything that's biblical. He prays. He reads. He studies. But he says nothing helps. He cannot find a place in his head to live, and he just wants to kill himself. And that's why we're here together, is for you to help us with that. And I said, "Well, y'all are the ones that are, the sages in here, have been doing this so long. Whatever would I be able to help with?" And they said, "Well, Miss Bryant, what you don't understand is when there's high-profile guys coming into the prison, they call some of us in and tell us this guy's going to come in. And we know the history of them. We decide where they're going to live, if they're going to have a cellmate, or if they're going to be in dorms, and who's going to kind of take over and mentor them coming in and help to mend them and educate them and help them to grow spiritually. So we actually get to decide that and do it. 3 of us are his mentors, and we can't get through to him, Miss Bryant. And this is really, really important, because if he dies, we die." And they're looking really, really seriously at me. And so about this time, the guy that's in the middle, who's just been sitting there like that, and he's older, and he's already done 35 years, and he leans forward, and he's weeping. And he said, "Miss Bryant, you teach us that that it takes us all. Everything's one. We can't do anything without affecting everything else, including ourselves, and that we are all one. It takes all of us to make God. And so if he dies, we all die too. You've got to help us, Miss Bryant." And I was just like, whoa. I said, "You teach us this, Miss Bryant." And all of a sudden I sat back and realized I wasn't listening to myself. I'm teaching this, but there's a big difference in teaching it and talking it and actually believing it in your heart of heart, in your soul, that it's being part of you. It's like walking on fire. You can talk about it, you can go I'm one with the fire, blah, blah, blah. But you better, for reals, be one with the fire, know you're one with everything, before you trot your little feet out on 1500-degree hot coals, because you'll lose your legs doing that. So I already had that experience, and not losing my legs, but walking on fire and being aware. But I had not really framed what these boys just told me. And I sat back and I said, what do you want me to do? And these three men, keep in mind, we're in prison. These guys are tough, and they're all crying. They're weeping. And I said, what do you want me to do? And they said, we want you to come into the philosophy class as a guest speaker today, and we want you to do some of your talk, and just maybe over the course of the day, you'll say something that helps him. We believe that will happen. I said, all right, okay. I said, do not point him out to me. I don't want to know his name. I don't want to know who he is. I don't want him to see that in me. So they said, nobody will think anything about it, because you teach metaphysics and you're coming into the philosophy of living in prison, and they won't think anything about it. So I went in and I spoke. God knows I tried everything that I knew and spoke without it just being, choppy. Oh, excuse me. And I spoke for 2 hours, which was the duration of the course. And then it was over. So hopefully I had said something that would resonate with this soul. So everybody left. They had to go eat and go back and be counted before they could come back, and 3.5 hours later. So I paced the floor the entire 3.5 hours. They came back and came in the room, and I said, well, did I say it? Did I say anything that mattered, anything that made a difference? And they said, yeah, you did. And I said, what was it? What was the key that made this difference? And they said, you said, you're so much more than the most heinous thing you've ever done. And now that you know that, you have a responsibility. And that was it. And we went forward, and it was like, whoa. I closed with that when I was talking to him, and it was like, that's one of my favorite things is that. And we're all learning, I don't believe there's right or wrong. I only believe there is, and I believe everything is God. God is omnipresent, so tell me where God is not. And so I can go on and on about that too. So that was that day and that moment that I came face to face with myself and my students and my reality, and bonded with what I was saying. And I thought I was already bonded. So that was very impactful, very, very impactful to my entire life. Hope you enjoyed it. Carol Briney here for Briney on Blast on YouTube. Thanks for checking in. Share, like, help me build this channel. Thank you. More stories to come.